Thursday, things I get asked. I've been a pastor of this church for 25 years now. In that time, there's certain questions that I get asked over and over, hundreds of times. And so for the first part of 2024, I am sharing these weekly videos. Hope you find them encouraging, and felt really strongly this would be a way to just build up and challenge the church. So today we're going to talk about tithing, a subject that, boy, I get asked about this so much. And I just want to say at the very beginning, what a wonderful blessing to be able to become a man or woman that trusts God and experiences his love and provision through the surrender of our income. This really what this is all about. When we talk about tithing, people think, they just need the money for the church. Guys, I'll just tell you something. We don't need your money. It helps, it pays the bills, but you're not the provider. I'm not the provider of this church. The provider is God. And so we trust him that he is going to take care of the things that he is birthing and blessing. And he does it through tithing. But tithing is not about supporting the church. It's really not. It's about my heart and your heart. And incredibly important topic. 2,000 plus verses in the Bible mention money. Jesus said, where your treasure is, your heart is. So that tells us something about how we handle our money has something to do with our heart for God and our love for God. And, a great example, sort of litmus test that I can look at and you can look at is just we all probably just got or didn't get a statement for 2023 that says how much we contributed to charity, to missions, to our local church. And so we can look at that and we can see how much of that treasure was for the kingdom. And, a lot of times it's like, well, I spent this much on my hobby, or I spent this much on my car, or I spent this much on my, eating out or movies and my subscriptions. And I really didn't seem to give much to the kingdom, or maybe I did. And we can learn, how important it is to us. And the truth is, it is something that it's sad because I think most Christians are missing out on the blessing of giving. The statistics say the average church is supported, like 95% of the bills are supported by like 30% of the members. So what does that mean? It means that 30% of those members, it doesn't sound like are giving. And that doesn't grieve me because the church hurts. Like we could always have more money for more things. It grieves me because it says something about that huge chunk of the church that's not walking in the most basic expression of our trust and love for God. And so I want to make disciples, and that's why this is such an important issue. And I've experienced tremendous blessing from it. Real quick, we have a brochure at our church that talks about tithing that you might check out if you're part of the church here, Vineyard Community Church. But tithing just simply means a tenth. It means that I take God gives me 100% of my income, my produce, and then I give back to him a tenth of the gross of that. So the gross is my salary, my, housing allowance, all the ways that money comes to me, I choose to give back to the Lord through that. And then I get the other 90%. Wow, what a deal. And that's something, it's an Old Testament law, yes. It also predates the Old Testament law with Abraham and Melchizedek in the book of Genesis. Before the law was ever even established, tithing was a thing to show this devotion to God. And then it came along and the law said, this is something you're invited and commanded to do. And then Jesus came along and they said, blah, blah, blah. And he said, yeah, you should tithe. And you should also do all these other things too. So he very much approved of it. And tithing is a way, just on a very practical level, that supports the work of the ministry. It supports the building, the salaries, the missions, the outreaches that we do. And, it really is a joy for me. Somebody, I became a Christian and very immediately was challenged by somebody to begin tithing. And I did. I just said, okay, I'll do it. When I was making nothing, I just decided to start doing it. It wasn't easy, but I did it because I put my trust in God. And so, I think, why don't we do this? Why do so many not? And I think it really does just come down to trust. We don't trust that we're going to have enough. We don't trust that God's worth it. We don't, whatever. And, a lot of us, it's easy to sort of base our giving on our spending. So it's like, let me spend all my money on all the things I want, and then whatever I have left, I'll give to God. And that's really backwards. Malachi goes as far as to say, if we do that, we're robbing God. I don't want to do that. Really the rather than kind of like, God, I'm going to give you my leftovers, it's sort of like, no, God, I'm going to give you my first. I'm going to base my spending on my giving. So I'm going to give first. And then whatever I've left, I will spend on my things. And, you might say, well, I don't have enough to give. And I said, well, maybe then we're just spending too much money on other things. And a lot of things, I get often is, people tell me, well, we're just not in a position to give right now. I would say that's not, the widow's mite is the classic story in New Testament of giving where she gave out of her poverty and Jesus delighted in that. And guys, if you can't give when it's hard, you won't give when it's easy because money's got you. So it's not about how much I do or don't have. It's about, am I willing to give from what I do have? And is my heart surrendered? And so, if you can't give when you're making a little money, you're not going to give when you make a lot of money because then the money is going to have even more hold of you. So we start when we don't have, and it really blesses us. And, again, as I said at the beginning, and I'll just close with this, giving isn't really for the church. It helps, but it's really for you and I. Like when I learn about giving, I experience a part of God because what I do is I surrender to God and I say, I'm not going to worry about taking care of my needs. I'm going to trust you. And by me giving of my first versus paying of my first for the things I need to pay for, I'm saying that I'm trusting you first to take care of me. And something beautiful happens when we make that surrender. I've experienced in 33 years now of a Christian, I've always tithed 10% or more of my gross. And I've just never needed. And we've been very lean. We've had some very lean years with no money, but we've always been provided for. So for me, there's a fearlessness when it comes to money. I don't worry. I never worry about money. I don't worry about it personally, and I don't worry about it for the church because I just know that I know that God's going to take care of me. And I'd be scared not to give because I feel like there's this blessing and protection over me because I have said, God, I trust you. And the other thing that it does is it just makes us generous. We get in touch with the generous heart of God when we are generous, and then we become generous. And what a blessing of being able to just give things away and give money away to the church, to people, and just do it out of joy without any feeling of like it's got me and I've got to really think before I do this. And, getting to experience the love of God in that way has probably for me been the greatest blessing of being a giver. So that's our topic on giving this week. Hope this is encouraging to you. We'll see you next week for the next one. God bless you. Peace.